welcome back, Tiger fans, Tiger people. It's here. It's the Freo preview. It feels like a lifetime ago since the North Melbourne game, and thank God it's not one I want to remember too fondly. So I'm glad we're moving on from that. Another big challenge ahead of us. Freo Marvel Stadium this Friday night. It's not a normal home games venue. Took a while to spit that one out. It's not where we normally play our home games, but we do play one there a year, and, back-to-back games at Marvel now. Hopefully we're sort of acclimatised to it a little bit. I know as supporters, we notoriously do not like to go there, probably just because it doesn't feel the same. I don't think it's got the same vibe, same atmosphere, but regardless, has nothing to do with the performance on field. So we look forward to another big clash this weekend. We've obviously had a few tight games with Freo in recent times, usually on the losing end of those, which is a shame, but let's try and rectify that this Friday night. And I guess we'll start with some of the team. Dustin and Lynch still to miss, which we kind of knew was going to happen. There were always a chance, but was never a big one. We kind of knew they were going to miss, which, it's difficult, of course. With those two on the side, we're a much better team, obviously. I think any team is a much better side with those two guys in it. So we're going to not struggle, but we're going to miss them, I think is the best way to put it. We're going to miss them again this week. But, as dumb as this sounds and as big of a cause it may be, I don't think we need them. We have enough star power around the ground that we should be winning more games and doing better than we are. I mean, I got a few that I listed just quickly, but you got Dylan Grimes, Trent Cotchin, Nick Vlaston, Shane Edwards, Daniel Rioli this year is becoming a star. You got Jack Reward up forward. We've got so many blokes that you just rely on every week, And, part of their performances might not have been quite there. Obviously, last week, Jack kicked 2-6. Dylan Grimes has that unfortunate play against Zerha, which arguably won them the game. But they're unusual parts of their game that you're not going to see week in, week out. Most of the time, you're going to get good performances. So I do think we've got enough star power around the ground to seriously win some games of footy and play dangerous games of football as well. So if we can put it all together against Freo, I don't see why we can't beat them and sort of revitalise our season a little bit, which we're in desperate need of, let's be honest. With 5 or 6 games left, we really need to win all of them to be a lock for finals. And at this stage, we're not. We're not a lock. We're lucky that teams around us are sort of falling off a cliff a little bit, like St Kilda. Bulldogs aren't necessarily a lock either. So it's going to be tough. I think we can do it, but yeah, we'll get into it. There's a few problems we definitely need to address heading into the game. That's making the most of our momentum. We have these big swings in games where we'll dominate the game, but we just don't impact on the scoreboard enough and break away from these teams. And, we always allow them to come back, and that's because we probably haven't put as much on the scoreboard as we should have. Happened in the first quarter against North. We probably should have been 30 points up at quarter time against North Melbourne, and we gave them a sniff by not kicking straight, and they won the game. So there's that. There's the clearances, stoppages, all that sort of contested work. I'm pretty sure out of the 9 games we've won this year, 7 of those games we won the clearances or the stoppages, whatever it is, and the other 2 we tied. So it's clear when we win those areas of the game, we win games of football, and when we don't, we lose. So we're going to work on that. That's another one, and then it kind of relates to momentum, but the scoring efficiency, we need to lift that. And I know it's an easy one, and it's the first one you pick at, but I mean, come on, we're not having that scoreboard damage that we used to. The scores, some turnovers at one point, we were leading the comp, and then all of a sudden, after a couple of games, we're back down towards the bottom. And scoring efficiency, it's not where it needs to be, and we're not gonna make finals or have an impact in finals if we do get there with the scoring efficiency we're going at right now. So that needs to be moved a little bit. In terms of players and the team that we line up with, I mean, I want Morris back in the team. I was spewing to see him go. I think it showed with our 1.6 pressure rating against North how much we did miss him. He can have one touch for the game, but his pressure acts cause turnovers in the forward line and, result in goals. So let me know what you guys think. But I'm one for Morris needs to be in the side. I think when he takes a set shot, he's normally a lock. He's a very good kick of the footy. He knows where the goals are. He doesn't always have a big impact, like I said, scoreboard-wise, possession-wise. It's his pressure and turnovers that we're not getting from any other player right now. You're not really getting it from a Castagna, not particularly from an Arts as much as we'd like to see. I mean, they're really our only smalls that are going around at the moment. So I want him back in purely for that reason. I do think we go the two forwards, the two rucks, if Soldo is back and available. I think with Freo's tools, they might be able to expose us a little bit. And if we can run with our two and just sort of hammer down on them a little bit, allow one to maybe rest up forward. I don't want to see Bolter or Gibkiss up forward this week. I know no doubt we'll probably see Bolter up there. I want them both in the back line where they play their best footy. And if that means someone like a Ben Miller has to step aside, as much as I like what Ben Miller's been providing and the way he's been going about it, I think a Bolter up back is more useful than a Ben Miller. And the same as Gibkiss. I mean, Gibkiss is growing. He's another one that, with him and Ben Miller could probably trade for trade, I guess. But I want Gibkiss in because I like what I've seen. I think he's shown a lot more so far this year, and I want him in the team, definitely. But I think if we can play Soldo and Nank, that's going to be huge for us. And like I said, you rest one of them down forward with the Cumberland and Jack down there. I think we're going to be held in good stead in that sense. What else? I think everywhere else pretty much we go unchanged. I mean, in terms of small forwards, though, yes, I want Morris back, but do we bring someone like a Sydney Stacker to the team just to have a bit of X factor, a bit of excitement? We've seen him at his best, and we've seen him at his worst. And when he's at his best, he's electric. I mean, that 2019 season, we just go back to that and see how good he was there. He was phenomenal. So he's been playing good footy at VFL level. We had a few BOGs before his injury, and he's back from that injury now. It's weird. Normally, AFL players will sometimes come up through the VFL. Does the VFL player just come straight into the AFL? He's played at the level before. He knows what it takes. It's whether he gets to that level. I mean, I think you've got to throw him in a bit of hot water, I think, to sort of, to test him. And it'll be interesting. I'm not saying they definitely should, but I think it should be considered. He's been playing good footy, scoring, importantly, and I think he knows how much his opportunity will cost if he doesn't make the most of it. I mean, he's had only so many chances you can have, and I think he's reached that limit now. So I think it's now or never for Sydney Stack. So it mightn't be a bad idea to throw him in and roll the dice a little bit. I'm not saying they will, but it'll be interesting to see nonetheless. Like I said before, we do love a close game with Freo. They've got some absolute stars. Nat Fyfe's hitting some good form. Andrew Brayshaw is arguably the best midfielder in the comp right now. They've got some absolute stars, but I think we can expose them with our back line and their forward line. I mean, Matt Taberner is really their go-to target when one of the ruckmen isn't resting down there. And I think we've got enough to cover them. Like I said, if we have a Bolter, Gibkiss, Grimes, Tarrant, I reckon we've got the numbers, and then we've got that run from Vlosten, Rioli, Short. Like, we've got that run as well as our tools that can also be moved and agile. Like, we all know how good Dylan Grimes is when he's at his best as well. So I think we've got him covered in terms of a back and forward line match up, back line on our half. And then even up forward, I mean, it's a tough one because I don't know who's going to be in the side. And Jack isn't going to be able to do it all by himself. Noah Cumberland is a natural forward. From the last two games, played his first full game of footy last week, first game of AFL footy. He kicked, I think it was 3-4 or something like that. He had a few misses, but he looks so confident in the forward line. He reads the ball really well, knows where it's going to be. I want to keep him progress and keep going. So Noah Cumberland stays in for mine. Our turnover game, mentioned it slightly before, our turnover game really needs to come back. It's what wins us games of footy. It's that fast-paced game that it's that style of footy that we set up, and other clubs in the comp are now molding their game off what we were doing. We're going to start doing it again and bringing it back to, the way we do it so well. And it's how we score so heavily against, against sides back in our premiership years. It's what we're doing. And we still got a lot of the same cattle out there. So it's not like they don't know how to do it. It's just not happening for us at the moment. Obviously this would be touched on, you'd imagine, by the coaches and all that. But so the players would know turnover game is immense for us, and we need that back pretty badly. Marvel Stadium, like I'd mentioned before, it's an interesting one. We don't love it, obviously, as fans. Dimmer's said something about it as well. But, we don't have an awful record there. I think we've got one of the best win-loss ratios at Marvel. Obviously, we don't play there a lot, which helps compared to other teams like St Kilda and Western Bulldogs. But Freo don't hate it there either. I mean, they walloped St Kilda a few weeks ago by about 40 points, 41 points, I think it was. And but then they also lost to Carlton by 31 at Marvel. Does that say more about the opposition they were playing, or more, or just a bit, they're inconsistent outside of Melbourne? We know that. Does Marvel Stadium have an effect? Who knows? It almost helps that we're not at the G in a little bit, because they play at Optus really well, and the G is relatively similar in terms of its size and its width. So potentially playing at Marvel throws them off slightly. It's hard to tell. Who knows? I think we've got to show up and play our best footy regardless, so it doesn't really matter where it is. Anytime, anywhere, as the coaches like to say. So gonna be tough. But you know, let's really try to get down there and show some support. I mean, it's pretty bleak against North. I know it was a North Melbourne game, weird time, twilight on a Saturday, but it's Friday night footy, prime time slot. I know it's not at our favourite stadium, like I said, but let's try to get down there and support. We play so well when we've got momentum, when the crowd's behind us. We're more up and about, you know, and a lot of our players thrive off it. So let's all try to get there if you can. Get yourself a ticket, get down to Marvel Stadium Friday night, and show our support. You know, get the crowd up and about. And speaking of the crowd, before I go, 100,000 members again for the 5th year straight. We've hit 100,000 members. That's massive. I mean, we've always had a big membership base and a big fan base, but to hit 5 years in a row of 100,000 members, when early days of that 100,000 tally, everybody sort of thought it was a bit of a fluke, and we've continued to do that. In our last 2 years, we really haven't looked like premiership side, you know, and this year, arguably even a final side at some points of the season. So the fact that we're still getting all these supporters on board and getting these massive numbers, you know, dominating the AFL membership tally count, it's unbelievable. So if you're a member, props to you. And, you know, if you're not, try jump on board, get a membership, even if it's only a small one. I know you can get some, you know, a couple of game ones here and there, whatever it is. Show your support to the club, and let's keep building, you know, this amazing football club that's brought so much, you know, so much joy, so much heartbreak, all of it, all the emotions. So let's get on board there with the Tigers. But look, until the Freo game is said and done, and hopefully we're winners, I'll be back with the Freo review, which, like I said, hopefully we're talking about a big win, and looking forward to another clash with Brisbane the week after. But we won't get ahead of ourselves. Look forward to the Freo game. Enjoy, get down to Marvel Stadium, and go Tigers.